wins. 2 more wins. And the Indiana Fever is headed to the WNBA Finals. Let that sink in for a second. The Indiana Fever only need to win 2 more games, and they will be in the WNBA Finals. And they stole the first of 3 today against the Las Vegas Aces, beating them 89-73. A very convincing.
The WNBA is under major pressure as the Indiana Fever, once considered the ultimate underdogs, are now just 2 wins away from the finals after shocking everyone with a dominant victory over the Las Vegas Aces, walking into Vegas and delivering a massive statement that has left the league stunned and the Aces' so-called dynasty suddenly looking shaky.
At the Aces in Las Vegas, on their home court, with their home referees, the Indiana Fever pulled off this victory. And I feel like I'm one of the only people, or at least aside from the mainstream media, who truly thinks that the Indiana Fever can pull this off. Do you remember a couple days ago on ESPN, they were saying like the chances that the teams had to make it to the finals or to win a championship, and it was 5 teams. Lynx, the Aces, Mercury, the Liberty, and the Indiana Fever. And they had the Indiana Fever as the lowest chances of winning the W.
So, do you think the Indiana Fever can actually pull this off? All they need is 2 more wins to punch their ticket to the WNBA Finals, a feat no one thought possible for the team that entered the season with the lowest odds in years of being treated as a league punchline. Yet they just made the powerhouse Las Vegas Aces look vulnerable on their own floor with an 89-73 blowout. A 16-point beatdown that wasn't a lucky break, but pure domination. As Indiana controlled the game from start to finish, exposed every weakness, and sent a clear message that the panic around the Aces is no longer hypothetical.
Our group has seen it all. We wanted to come in and be the aggressor right away, to make sure that we were dictating on the defensive end, and we were dictating from a pace standpoint. They're champions for a reason. We knew that they were going to make runs. They made a big one in the third, and we responded with a big one. I'm proud of our team. It's one game. It's a long series, so we got to keep the main thing. But to come in here and to be able to steal this one was big for us.
Before the series began, every major outlet from ESPN to local analysts had already penciled in the Aces and Liberty as the obvious finals favorites, with Minnesota given an outside chance, and even Phoenix's potential being entertained. While Indiana was dismissed as nothing more than the fun team, just happy to be in the mix with 0 chance of advancing. Yet the scoreboard tells the truth as the Fever have already taken the toughest game of the series, the opener on the road.
To handle a game where Asia is not able to dominate, where would you guys rank your level of concern surrounding that, and how do you guys kind of fix that?
It's not necessarily my level of concern. I know we're capable, but now when we play like that, God forbid Asia doesn't drop 40 for us, but we had 12 assists tonight in 40 minutes, 12 turnovers. But you can start on the defensive end. Clearly we had no answer for Mitchell. Couldn't even attempt to slow her down a little.
The Aces' entire identity revolves around Aya Wilson. She's their system, their safety net, their everything. And when she's limited, chaos follows, which is exactly what we saw in Game 1, as Wilson posted 16 points and 13 rebounds, but shot just 27% from the field, picked up 4 quick fouls, and was forced into uncomfortable looks by the Fever's defense. And when she sat, Vegas collapsed, turning a 3-point deficit into a 14-point hole on an 11-0 Indiana run sparked solely by her absence, raising the question: if a so-called juggernaut crumbles the moment one player leaves the floor, are they really a juggernaut, or just the Las Vegas Aces? Indiana looked every bit like a complete team as Kelsey Mitchell, long overlooked, exploded for 34 points with a +20 on the floor, torching the Aces from deep, attacking the rim, and dismantling every defender Becky Hammond threw at her. While Odyssey Sims, signed only in August, added 17 points with poise, ran the offense seamlessly, finished with her own +20, and already looks like the ideal steadying presence to complement Caitlin Clark as she grows into playoff form. And though Aaliyah Boston scored just 6 points, her defense on Aya Wilson was flawless, bodying her up, contesting everything, and forcing fadeaways instead of layups. with Queen Egbo stepping in off the bench to maintain that same suffocating style whenever Boston rested. Queen Egbo may not have Wilson's size or strength, but she battled her on every possession, forcing her to grind for every bucket. And that same relentlessness defined Indiana's entire effort as Lexi Hull, who scored only 6 points, still finished with a game-best +24 by doing all the dirty work Vegas avoids, locking down defensively, cutting off passing lanes, diving for loose balls, and making smart decisions that turned the Fever into an unstoppable force whenever she was on the floor. And the game also exposed a glaring truth about the Aces. Without Wilson carrying them, they have no identity, as Jackie Young's 19 points and Chelsea Gray's brief flashes couldn't hide the fact that their bench offers nothing and their system completely collapses the moment Wilson isn't in control. The Aces' defensive rotations collapsed and their chemistry disappeared, while Indiana exposed every weakness with smart, disciplined play, and even with Aya Wilson benefiting from the usual superstar whistle. The Fever's defense stayed aggressive, with Boston risking foul trouble but never backing down, and Egbo pressing every angle to dictate the battle, forcing Wilson into inefficient shots. And the contrast couldn't be clearer as Indiana thrived on true team basketball, moving the ball, cutting hard, defending as one, and trusting whoever had the hot hand, while Vegas relied solely on star power, looking completely lost when Wilson wasn't dominant. A formula that simply isn't sustainable in a 5-game series, especially with Indiana unleashing a suffocating full-court press that changed the entire tempo to Indiana's full-court press, something they've rarely shown this season, completely disrupted Vegas as Egbo smothered the inbound. Guards pressured the ball handlers, and early traps shattered the Aces' rhythm, exposing their shaky backcourt beyond Chelsea Gray, with Jackie Young and Kia Stokes visibly rattled and coughing up turnovers that fueled easy Fever buckets. While Odyssey Sims again proved invaluable, not just with her scoring, but with veteran leadership, dictating tempo, making the right passes, and steadying Indiana whenever Vegas tried to rally. An incredible impact for a player signed only months ago who now looks essential to the franchise's future. And beyond her, the Fever's resilience stood out as Natasha Howard cooled after a strong first half. Aerial Powers struggled, and yet others like Maya Caldwell delivered big moments, showing the kind of depth that separates true contenders from pretenders. If one Fever player fades, another steps up, a luxury Vegas doesn't have. And that's why Indiana's win wasn't luck, but a clear blueprint. Hold Wilson under 20, stay disciplined on defense, attack relentlessly on offense, and the game is yours, which is exactly what happened and why the league is now in full-blown panic mode. But zooming out reveals the bigger picture. Just a year ago, Caitlin Clark was a rookie adjusting to the pro game. Aaliyah Boston was learning how to battle veteran bigs, and Kelsey Mitchell was brushed off as an empty scorer on bad teams. Yet fast forward to today, and the Fever are 2 wins from the finals while the supposed powerhouses scramble for answers, showing that in Indiana, everything has changed. At Indiana's rise comes down to coaching, depth, mentality, and Caitlin Clark's influence in just her second year. Even while sidelined, her presence reshaped the culture, forcing every opponent to plan around her and freeing up Mitchell, Sims, and Boston to shine. Because Clark's impact isn't just scoring but the fear she instills in defenses, and that pressure still lingers even without her on the floor, whereas the Aces, though talented, are painfully predictable as everything begins and ends with Wilson, leaving Jackie Young forcing shots, Chelsea Gray overburdened, and Becky Hammond staring at a bench with no spark to call on. A stark contrast to Indiana's deep, versatile rotation where Sims provides steady point guard play, Mitchell can torch anyone for 30. Boston locks down as the defensive anchor, Lexi Hull glues the lineup together, Natasha Howard brings veteran stability, and Aerial Powers remains an X-factor ready to erupt. And with Queen Egbo emerging as a secret weapon against elite bigs, Indiana's lineup isn't just solid, it's finals caliber. And the numbers prove it as the Fever held Vegas to just 70 points when the Aces averaged over 90 in the regular season. Nearly a 20-point drop that highlights elite defense rather than coincidence. With Boston and Egbo locking down inside, guards pressuring entry passes to shrink Wilson's space, and every possession forcing rushed, contested shots, while on the other end the offense was balanced with Mitchell's 34 leading the way, Sims adding 17, and Howard giving key first-half contributions to keep the attack steady. Hall made the kind of impact that doesn't always show up in the box score, while Boston's 6 points still carried weight because her presence alone kept Vegas honest. And that's the essence of true team basketball. Yet the media is busy spinning excuses about Aya Wilson having an off night or the Aces missing layups, insisting it won't happen again. But the truth is Indiana didn't get lucky. They exposed the Aces' structural flaws, proving Wilson can't carry them every night. And you don't beat the defending champs by 16 in their own arena by accident. Which makes this a massive wake-up call for the league, because now the Fever are just 2 wins away. This is a best-of-5 series, and with Indiana already stealing one in Vegas, a Game 2 win would all but seal it since no one is beating the Fever 3 straight times with 2 games in Indiana, which is why the panic is real, and even the league offices feel it, especially after ESPN and others gave the Fever the lowest odds of any semifinal team, dismissing them as too young, too inexperienced, and not deep enough. A narrative that just exploded as Indiana now sits 2 wins from the finals, fueled by every ounce of disrespect. While the WNBA's dream matchup of Aces versus Liberty hangs by a thread, and the mentality difference couldn't be clearer, with the Aces looking frustrated and flat the moment adversity hit, while the Fever stayed locked in, calmly answering every Vegas run with one of their own, refusing to panic. Indiana didn't fold or act like a team just happy to be there. They carried themselves like a team expecting to win, and the fourth quarter proved it as Vegas cut a 16-point lead down to 10 and the momentum seemed ready to flip. But instead of crumbling like past Fever squads, this group steadied, executed offensively, and slammed the door shut. A display of maturity and growth that screams finals contender, with Odyssey Sims deserving extra credit as a late August signing who has already become one of the most vital players on the roster. Odyssey Sims' decision-making, leadership, and control of tempo have been exactly what Indiana needed, and if she's this impactful after just weeks with the team, a full season could make her one of the league's most reliable veterans, which is why the Fever would be wise to lock her in long-term. While Kelsey Mitchell has finally shattered the empty stats label by dropping 30-point performances in the playoffs against the defending champs, proving she's not just a scorer, but the closer. And with Caitlin Clark in year 2 drawing constant defensive attention, Mitchell now has the space to torch anyone in front of her, a dynamic that underscores the irony of Vegas being billed as the unstoppable dynasty, while Indiana was seen as a rebuilding project. Yet here we are with the Aces exposed as one-dimensional and the Fever looking like the league's future, and the panic isn't just about this series, but what it signals long-term. Because if Indiana can reach the finals with Clark only in her 2nd season and Boston still growing, the power balance in the WNBA may be shifting for years to come. The Aces and Liberty were supposed to dominate the league, but Indiana is crashing the party early, and you can bet league executives aren't thrilled as their dream script of Aces versus Liberty, Wilson versus Stewart, super teams clashing for ratings, gets ripped apart by the Fever, who have shown the one thing Vegas lacks: resilience. Because despite injuries, roster shakeups, and rock-bottom expectations, Indiana has rolled out 3 different versions of its roster this season, and every single one found ways to compete, making them dangerous precisely because they don't care about excuses, they just play. And you can see it in their energy every possession. Indiana plays with non-stop energy, running the floor, pressing, and fighting for every possession, while Vegas looked tired, sluggish, and disengaged. And that gap in hunger shows on every trip down the court, which now raises the question of whether the Fever can finish the job, because with just 2 wins left to claim, either by stealing another in Vegas or closing it out at home, the Aces are staring at elimination far sooner than anyone imagined. And if Indiana pulls it off, it will go down as one of the greatest upsets in WNBA playoff history, though for anyone actually watching, it won't even feel like an upset at all. The Fever aren't just squeaking by, they're outplaying, outworking, and outthinking their opponent, looking less like lucky underdogs and more like the outright better team, and that's the real reason the league is panicking, because deep down everyone knows it. With just 2 wins separating Indiana from shocking the entire WNBA world as the supposed underdogs prove they belong at the top, while the Aces are the ones under pressure. And this story is far from finished.